This is Good Morning America, live from Times Square in New York.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being with us. I'm Deborah Roberts.
I'm David MUIR. It is Sunday, June 15th, otherwise known as Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of you out there. Bill, of course, spending this day with his daughter, and Kate's off as well.
Exactly. Well, a lot of men, David, today are spending Father's Day on the battlefield. For our soldiers fighting the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and ABC's foreign senior correspondent Jim Shoutout has been embedded with U.S. Marines there all week, and he's going to have a report on the latest from the front lines.
A harrowing experience for him out there, too. Also coming up, a lot of conversations in homes across this country this weekend about heart disease after veteran broadcast journalist Tim Russert died suddenly of a heart attack. We now know that he was doing what so many do. He was taking medication. He passed the stress test. So what could have been done? What should your loved ones do? We're going to have important medical information with the cardiologist coming up here.
Probably a lot of folks thinking about changing things in their lives.
And then this question for you this morning, hemidemisemiquaver. Can you spell it?
What language are you speaking?
Ron's like, what? This is a switch on the spelling bee. We were used to those young faces every year. They captivate us. This is the senior spelling bee, and that was one of the words they had to spell last night.
How do you say that again?
Hemidemisemiquaver.
Okay, I'm going to test you.
And I'm going to use that in a sentence at least 3 times.
I want to hear it.
All right. We'll get to that all coming up here. But first, the headlines and Ron Claiborne over at the News Desk this morning.
It's actually back to David and Deborah and Marisol and Amarillo.
He's got email.
I like the way you say that in Spanish.
Single-handedly making this a bilingual morning news program.
Great, Marisol. Fire wheel. That was really fascinating, that picture. We want to turn now to a GMA health alert this morning. So many families across the country now having a conversation about heart disease as we now learn more about what caused the sudden death of NBC journalist Tim Russert. More than 400,000 Americans die from cardiac arrest every year. And so this morning, we're joined by Dr. Chris Cannon of Brigham and Women's Hospital, and he's one of the country's premier cardiologists. Dr. Cannon, thanks for being with us here this morning.
Thank you.
I know that you've had a chance to read about the autopsy report. So what do we know so far about what might have caused this death, this sudden death?
Well, this is a sudden death, but unfortunately a very typical one where high cholesterol building up inside the heart arteries can break open in a tear, a blood clot forms, and sudden death ensues when the artery is blocked up. And so a tragic death, but one hopefully that we can all learn from and focus on how to prevent that.
But when we hear that he was on heart medication, that he had passed a stress test just a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people are going to think, well, you know, my loved ones have done the same thing. They're doing what they think they should do. So was this a silent killer? Could it have been prevented?
Well, we can always do more. And so the difference between a stress test really tells you if you have angina coming from the heart, whereas the risk of heart attack is determined more by your cholesterol level, your blood pressure, your weight, how much you exercise. And so those are the things that can be worked on to try and reduce the risk of heart disease.
Dr. Cannon, I know that the cholesterol tests and the other tests out there look at the plaque within the blood. I wanted to take a look at an image here this morning because a lot of what we concentrate on right now is what's inside the artery. But what happened in this case, according to many specialists who've looked at this, is the plaque buildup on the side of the arterial wall, and then you're going to see it here as it, as you mentioned, ruptured and then caused the heart attack in this case. Are there ways we can try to find the plaque in the side of the walls? Are there tests that we're just missing?
Well, there are tests that are growing in use. The 64-slice CT scan can look at the arteries themselves and find the plaque in the wall. Or one can simply do a blood test called C-reactive protein, or CRP, and that actually tells how inflamed or irritated the artery is. That is a determinant of whether it would break open and then cause a heart attack. So knowing your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your CRP, and then getting them down as low as possible is the best way to try and prevent these type heart attacks.
All right, so ask your doctor about the CT scan and the protein test, as you mentioned. Dr. Cannon, thanks so much for being with us here this morning.
Certainly, thank you.
Deborah, when you think of retirement, you might think of golf, gardening, maybe a vacation, but spelling? That's exactly what was going on last night at the National Senior Spelling Bee, and this morning ABC's Yunji Denise has the story.
They're arguably America's smartest senior, or at least the most studious.
I would burn CDs and give myself spelling.
Stretch, they did.
Read a lot and read some more.
Pam Leninger spent a year memorizing 12 dictionary pages a day. The eldest, 75-year-old John White, had his own way of getting ready.
Basically, I didn't.
On stage, they went round.
Knick. K-I-N-N-I-K-I-N-N-I-C-K, knick.
After round.
Hemidemisemiquaver.
Yeah.
Hemidemiquaver. Hemidemisemiquaver.
Each fighting to avoid the dreaded ding.
Here comes the toughies.
It came down to 3 men and 1 word.
Debauch. D-E-B-O-U-C-H, debauch.
And we have our winner.
Larry Grossman is this year's cerebral superstar. That's cerebral with a C.
For me, learning is fun.
Especially when you win. For Good Morning America, Yunji Denise, ABC News.
And with Rita Meyer.
No, I think debauch was a lot easier than that.
I like that. That's what I'm going for.
Hemidemisemiquaver. We want to throw that back up there. Do you see how many chips it took to spell that out?
Yeah. H-E-M-I-D. Okay, forget it. I'm not.
All right, I'm not going to use that in a sentence. I'm just going to say we'll be right back. It's much easier. And this morning, Bill Weir with an incredible story of a family, 4 generations of men, fathers and sons, all helping to save lives right here in New York City. And not just the family thanking them this morning, but an entire city. And we'll have that. So grab a cup of coffee. Come on back. We have another half hour coming up.
Great Father's Day surprise.
You know, for most of human history, sons of farmers became farmers, sons of merchants became merchants, and so on and so forth. But, you know, the choice has become a modern birthright, and it's increasingly rare to see a chip fall off the old block, as you would say, in the world. But on this Father's Day, Bill Weir, who's celebrating it off with his daughter today, he's going to show us that legacy can provide a powerful bond, especially when it's devoted to public service and then repeated over 4 generations.
If only John Flanagan were alive to see this. His bloodline lined up in a sweltering Harlem firehouse more than 100 years after he joined the New York City Fire Department.
Every time I went to the firehouse where my dad was working, I hated to leave, you know?
What did he say when you told him you wanted to follow in his footsteps?
My dad? He was very happy.
That sentiment has been repeated twice. Kevin followed Thomas.
I saw that he was very happy in what he did.
Daniel and Brian followed Kevin.
He never complained about going to work, ever.
I used to come to work with him, you know, ride on the rig, and I don't know, I just thought that was like the greatest thing ever.
They are proof that if you want your child to follow your path, love your path, hazards and all. In this job, fire isn't the half of it. They see suicide attempts, train accidents, and explosions. A nightly array of human despair.
But then you see some great things too, you know, the childbirths, the people who are appreciative of what you do.
One morning, Kevin went into a burning apartment to save an autistic 10-year-old boy. He was nominated for a commendation, but refuses to accept any credit alone.
My wife said to me, you know, you saved that boy's life. You know, I look at it as we saved him, you know? That's how I feel.
The Flanagans work in different firehouses, but they all live in the same house.
Thank you.
With a wife, mother, and daughter-in-law all rolled into one.
I am very proud of who they are and who they've become, and would never ask them to do anything but what they do.
Brian was going to work one night, and she looked at me and she goes, how come 30 years with you, I never really worried about you going to work, but my son's going to work and I'm worrying about him.
Given what you've seen, make you nervous at all about these two?
No. The chips will fall where they may, you know. There isn't a guy on this job that would tell you that he's the next person to get killed.
What kind of father is he?
He's the nicest guy you'd ever meet. Excellent role model. You know, I mean, he's made it this far, so I figured. I figured I couldn't go wrong, you know. Just trying to mold myself to be, you know, half as good a man as he is, you know, I'd be all right, I think, you know.
Business calls. All right. Since this house responded to some 5,000 calls last year, this interruption is no surprise, and somehow they all stay seated. Right in the middle of that emotional story, Kevin.
The tears were coming, man.
Yeah, tears were coming. They're saved by the bell, literally. What's the one thing your father taught you that stuck with you?
Well, my father always said that we're the greatest guys in the world are working in the fire department.
It's okay to be kind and caring and a good person.
Just be a nice guy.
And you teach them respect. You teach them to do the right thing, as was taught to me.
Wouldn't that patriarch who's passed be
Classic
proud of his
American
family?
story.
It's great.
Beautiful, huh?
Really?
I know we're weeping over here.
Yeah, we don't get saved by the fire bell like they did in the piece.
That was great.
Yeah, it was really tremendous. So our hats off to the Flanagans and really to all the fathers out there. This is your day. And happy Father's Day, Dad. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
It was great spending Sunday morning with you and you and you.
But you know what,
Thank you
Deborah?
for having
We've
us.
been told the two of us are out of here.
Out of here.
Bill and Kate back next week.
Quick note, though, tune in to 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific.
Happy Father's Day.